All right, welcome back to the Intelligent Human Leadership Podcast. You have made it to the end of 2024. I'm recording this here on Monday, December 30th. We are just very close to the beginning of 2025, and I just want to say thank you for joining me this past year on the Intelligent Human Leadership. We are continuing on in 2025, but I thought it'd be fun to do an episode on infusing my love of Star Wars. For those of you that maybe haven't caught on, I'm a huge Star Wars fan, and I was nerding out with another colleague today, and I thought, you know what? Here we are at the end of the year. It's in the at least in the United States, it's one of the darkest times of our year because we're in the throes of winter right now. So we're kind of going from the dark side to the light side. It's only going to get lighter here as we go into 2025. That's our seasonal, the seasons we find ourselves in. And so I wanted to encourage you. Hope you have a lot of fun here on this episode where we're going to go through and talk about the force of leadership. How are we using the force, if you will? And for those of you that are not familiar with Star Wars or have no clue, don't worry. We're going to have a lot of fun here, and I'll give you some background along the way. Um, I have been grown up with Star Wars. I'm 51 now, so I was of the age when Star Wars first came out as a young boy, enjoying that, and of course seeing all the different iterations, some higher, some lows, but nonetheless have really enjoyed doing that. For those of you in Southern California, I founded a little collectible store shop, if you will, called Lightside Collectibles. You guys can look it up and find it. I've actually two little locations that I do where it's been really fun running that is a another way of sharing my passion for Star Wars, infusing with a little business, having a great time there. And so having that had the opportunity to meet collectors from all over the world, authors, actors. It's just been a fun journey for me. And now I get to share it with my children. My daughter, who's 18, my son is 15. They've enjoyed it. And we just have a blast with that. And you know what? Being a leader means you're enjoying life, you're taking it, you're looking at things, you're being intentional about the way you're showing up. And so we want to make sure that you are that most intelligent human leader. That's where we're going here to the end of the year, here on 2024, going into 2025. So when you listen to this episode, we should be in the new year, and just wanted to encourage you that you can use the force and make sure that you're using it in a positive way and helping you be that most intelligent human leader. So, how do we do that? One way we can look at that is how the duality of the force is. Now, the force is something that was made up. It came about, George Lucas came up with this idea, but I think it really works well because it's something that anybody can possess. Now, some people are unaware of it. Some people don't know exactly how to be trained in it. But I think that at least for me, the concept is that we can all have it in some form or fashion. Some are more powerful in the way that they use the forces or good, what I call the light side. That's why I called Lightside Collectibles. Or there's the dark side as well. And so there's this balance to force. We talk about that in because what happens is we can go, you know, off if we don't have a clear understanding of our strengths and our weaknesses. What's our weaknesses? What's challenging us? Um, the idea is as a leader, we want to come from a place of abundance. We want to come a place that we have things. What you'll see oftentimes on the dark side is there's a sense of scarcity or worry or doubt or fear. Um, one of the classic characters in the Star Wars universe is Yoda, and he talks about how that fear and anger and rage, how what that leads to, that self interest can be very destructive, right? And so, where we can align ourselves with hope. The very first movie, they didn't say this originally in the first movie, but it was a new hope. What could be, right? There's a resistance and people coming together and collaborating for a better life for others that were under oppression, that were under a rule that was harmful. And so we have to align with others that live from a place of selflessness, meaning they're looking out for others because they know they have enough. They know that they're being taken care of. They're coming from a place of abundance. And one of the characters also that I strongly identify with, and I don't know, maybe I'm starting to look like them. So for those of you who are watching the video, you guys can tell me. But Obi-Wan Kenobi, Ben Obi-Wan Kenobi, he's one of the characters that's through the films. And it's one that I've really identified with. And in fact, I'm a focus collector of the character and have fun memorabilia around Obi-Wan Kenobi. But one of the things he chooses to do, he didn't have to, but he chooses to empower this young boy, this Luke Skywalker, because he realizes, look, I can't carry this on. I'm one of the few Jedi left. I'm one of the few that can mentor, and we're losing some key mentors right now. Those that are leaving our workforce, baby boomers, and those perhaps even some older Gen X folks that are leaving the workforce, and we need those mentors. We need those folks to share, to pass along these skills that they've developed over decades. Uh, Being a leader is not something that you just are born with. It is something that you develop. It's a skill set that you nurture, and it's not something that ever ends. It's always ongoing. I'm continually being refined in this process. Um, and that is mimicked in the Star Wars movies. There's people that start very young in their Jedi journey, and they go along for a long time. It takes a long time to become what they call a Jedi Master, and even that is part of my theme actually this coming year is leadership mastery. How do we become a master? It takes time. It takes dedication. It takes focus. It takes discipline. It doesn't just happen. You can be given a role, you can be given a position of authority, but without true development of your leadership skills, it can be very oppressive. It can be again rooted in fear, self-control, or excuse me, not lack of control of yourself, meaning you're not you're not truly disciplined. You're just like I'm seeking control. I'm trying to gather control. You really don't have it because you're so self-absorbed and you're about defensiveness and you're trying to manipulate the situation. And that's where the dark side comes in. When you're trying to truly do things for your own self-interest and not looking at a bigger picture here. Um, and so, oh, no, why I like Obi-Wan Kenobi is he's a flawed person. He messed up, he fell away, he didn't always do things right, but he was striving to do better. He was striving to make sure that though that in this case, Luke Skywalker, who is mentoring, right, is going down a better path and better than what he had. And that's what we want to do as leaders. We want to hopefully mentor and build that resilient team. Hence the theme for Steward Your Business in 2025 is leadership mastery. Empowering yourself as a leader and building resilient teams. If you don't have a resilient team, and if it's just you, it's going to be difficult to build a coalition, to build. In this case, there's a rebel alliance that came together, but that were able to overthrow a much powerful organization in the empire. And you look at the other case of this leadership choices where this Anakin Skywalker, who ultimately became Darth Vader, is this young boy that was started with fear or doubt or being separated from his mom and wondering what's going to happen eventually with his wife, and just in this constant state of trying to control everything and being consumed with fear and ambition. And sometimes people recognize that and they manipulate that because they see the fearfulness, they see the ambition, or they see the things in you that they can use for their own power, for their own position. Unfortunately, this is the unhealthy version where we don't want you to be, and we want you to check yourself too. Are you using ways of manipulation? Are you using your position of authority to min- try to control the situation? Um, and unfortunately, what happens in this story, and I know if you've never seen Star Wars, I'm sorry, I'm a spoiler alert, I'm giving some spoilers away, but um, what I wanted you to take away is whether you watch Star Wars or not, recognize that there's these themes that occur over and over and again. And if we're not paying attention, if we're not aware of these things, we're going to fall down the same path. There's a powerful scene in the movie The Empire Strikes Back where Luke Skywalker has to go into this cave and face Darth Vader, seemingly Darth Vader. It actually isn't Darth Vader. It's actually himself battling his own darkness, trying to understand what is this within me. Because we all have these things. One of the foundations of one of the programs that I infuse with Steward Your Business is called Wake Up Warrior. One of the books behind me is that we all lie. We all have lies of omission, lies of commission. We all have them. It's how we deal with them. It's how we deal with the darkness that defines us. We can let it consume us, or we can let it be brought to the light and let it fall away from us, if you will, and let it not have any more power over us. Or we can let it be consuming and we just become darker and darker and become an unpleasant person to be around. How many of you have been around that environment? You can just sense the energy, the angst. The person is not one that brings light to the world. In fact, they're suck it out. It's like a black hole, uh, where you're like, man, I do not want to even get close. I'm gonna get pulled into that. It's just toxic, right? Um, and this has been really important for me along my journey is surrounding myself with the people that are of the light, the people that are moving from an abundance place that could see the greater vision to come alongside. There's a saying that we're the sum of kind of the five closest people in our lives. Look at the people around you. We had a whole episode about this earlier this year on kind of the power of associations. Go back and check out that episode you get a chance and take a listen, because who we're associated with greatly affects us. And in this case, in this particular series, you have a young man that aligns with this emperor, this phantom menace, this gentleman that was really manipulating things behind the scenes for his own power. And he wasn't doing it for the benefit of others. It was more for him to be in control. And what happens is when we seek power and we squeeze so hard that we can't hold on to it. Um, and so how can we move from that potential dark side, or even if you're on the light side, greater understanding and tapping into what our unique gifts and abilities are? How do you discover whatever the force is for you, right? And use that. What are your unique strengths as a leader? Can you articulate them? Do you know them very clearly? Uh, one of the tools I use here, you guys have probably heard me talk about it, is called the Five Voices. You can take the Five Voices assessment for free. Message me, I'll send you a link, or you can go to my website, stewardyourbusiness.com, and check it out for Five Voices. But that's one way of looking at it. There's lots of great tools. I love to infuse those to get a better picture about what your strengths as a leader are. Everyone here is a leader. You may not always believe that, but you are a leader, and it starts with leading yourself. Um, what are the talents that you have that inspire and uplift others? These are different ones. There's people have really good technical skills, and those can help. In the Star Wars movies, there's Han Solo and Chewbacca and the Millennium Falcon, and they come in and they fly at the very end, and they're able to help Luke complete his uh, attack of the Death Star, because they knew where to fit, how to help, and it wasn't just technical skills. Oh, hey, we could do this, but they shared words of encouragement. In fact, one a scene where they're getting ready to go attack the Death Stars, you have Han Solo say, "May the Force be with you." It's a great line, meaning we have this greater self of who we are becoming? Are we going to lean into that um, and become more aware, have better self awareness, and start to step into leadership mastery? Um, this is challenging at times because sometimes we think we should be one thing and we're not. We think we should be. We look at other people and we say, "Well, they've got this, they're doing that, they're doing this thing, that thing, and I'm just doing this." Because what happens sometimes when it's very familiar to you, you think that you maybe you don't appreciate the value that it really is. I talked about this on one of the recent episodes about my trip to Mexico last month, where I was in this place of just talking to people and listening, using my connector voice, and how impactful that was. More impactful than I even realized because after the fact, I had people come up and talk to me that were on our trip together, and they said, "Oh, David, I saw you talking to this person and that person." I'm like, "I didn't even realize you saw me doing this. I was just going through and finding ways that I could uplift others and hear where they're at and what was going on." Um, and I want you to be that most influential leader, creating lasting impact, a real legacy there for yourself, for your team, for your family. And when we're aware of this, what our unique talents and gifts and abilities are, will much better impact. What I call it your 70-30 rule. It's this way of understanding where should I spend most of my time that's going to make the most impact. There's a lot of things we can do, and oftentimes it's busy work. It's not really that impactful. Um, you may have heard of the Pareto principle, the 80-20 rule, same kind of concept where we should be spending the majority of our time in the things that are going to be most impactful and eliminate the things that are of a distraction. Um, and so as we go through this, this is always a refining process. We're learning this. We're learning better how to do this. That's what I love about Star Wars. 'Cause I'm always learning something new. It's such a vast universe. I'm excited. I'm not feeling bad, and there's so many elements as a collector. For example, I've collected the toys and the memorabilia since I was a kid from Canada and all these things. But there's so many elements like comic books, for example, which are cool. It's just not an area that I focused in on. There's so many variations that you can go in and look at. Find out what your strength and where your niche is. How are you uniquely created and designed? And lean into it and learn from others that have the passion. And then when I talk with a collector that does something that I don't do, I love it. I love to learn from other people because I'm receiving from them and I'm not threatened by it. Just as shouldn't be threatened in the work that we do, uh, in the organization we're at. People are going to have different focuses and things that make them excited and passionate. And here's the beautiful thing: people that are excited, passionate, are going to do the work required. They're going to do the work and then some because they really enjoy it and they find it fulfilling. The people that aren't talking about it, that aren't excited about it, uh, are going to be, they're going to be less engaged. And so pay attention to that. Where do they light up? Where do they get excited? Because that's going to be where you're going to be building your resilient team. Because when there's going to be tough times, they're going to be at least doing the things that they love, that they're passionate about more often than not. And that will sustain them through some challenging times. Uh, we want to look at how do we resist the dark side, overcoming those challenges. Like I said, they're all going to have them. And, watch out for those areas where we start to micromanage, right? Or maybe overextend ourselves because of fear of failure, or disconnect from our team and we self isolate. Those things, because we're not feeling successful, we're not feeling like we're living in our true purpose, can be quite damaging. And we don't want you to be in that place. We want to help you move and cultivate mindfulness, managing your stress. Like I mentioned earlier, build that council. You may have heard of like a Jedi council of mentors or peers for accountability and reflection. Get feedback on, is my leadership values? Are they in focus? Are they the right ones? Do they need to be adjusted? Are my values in the right place? Um, and there's quite a bit in the movies where there's this pull and push and pull of I feel good in you, Luke says to his father in Return of the Jedi. And he knows that there's something there, but his dad is disconnected so hard. Fortunately, he's become this other person. Thankfully, there's redemption, and that's what I love about the Star Wars movies, particularly in Return of the Jedi. There's redemption where we can move from being in the dark side, being the villain, even though it may have been of a lifetime that we've been that way. You have the power to move and build the resilient teams, build resiliency in yourself, creating shared trust and vision in challenging times, developing your skills in the diversity of the team. Now, this doesn't happen overnight. And that's why I have steward your business. So I come in as a coach with you because what happens, we all get stuck along the way. I've gotten stuck. What do? We need help. We need to come alongside, investing in skills and training and personal development. One of the ways I'm doing that, I'm offering a group coaching program starting in January. I would love to have you be a part of it. I'm working with another giant guide where we're going to help you move quicker and give you skills, um, ways that you can navigate through challenging circumstances, breakdowns in communication, right? We want to be able to celebrate the collective success of the team, build morale and encouragement, and be that most intelligent human leader. Be the one that's leaving a lasting impact. I could talk for so much more, and I'm sure I'll come back to Star Wars again at some point, because it's just I live and breathe. It's all about I've had that a part in my life and get to talk with people and when I bring up stories and talk with folks, if you message me and you want to talk with that, I would happily share with you. We were always geeking out with that. With, like I said, another colleague earlier today, and I was on a call last week, and a gentleman's asking me about a Han Solo figure or whatnot. It's fun. I enjoy it, and I appreciate the opportunity to come and share some insights and background along my own journey. But I really want to encourage you here as we wrap up the episode today to look about how do you become a leadership master. We want you to be in developing that using your own force for good to serve others. What are your goals for 2025? And if you're not clear, you know, message me and we'll talk about it. And even if you are clear and you're like, I don't know how to get there, let's talk about it. Comment here. Give me your feedback. Let me know where you're at. Um, and I'm here to help you develop practices that align with the light side of leadership, if you will, to help you plan initiatives to build that team resilience, especially in this distributed workforce we find ourselves in today. Um, and together, we can help discover what is your unique force or better refine it, better get clear on what it is and how you can use that. How can you empower your team, embrace their strengths? Um, Share your thoughts. I love to hear from you guys here on the Intelligent Human Leadership Podcast. Leaving a 5-star review is always really helpful on your favorite podcast platform or a comment on YouTube. Uh, Following along, recommending it to others. I have other people coming on my Business Roundtable podcast as well. So we have guests there, and there's just lots of ways to connect on your favorite social media platform. Um, you get to choose. That's the beauty here. You can choose where do you want to go. You want to choose the light? Do you want to choose the dark? What is that? Um, you get to make the decision. And I just want to say I'm so grateful for you guys coming along with me this year, being a part of the Intelligent Human Leadership podcast. There's so much more. You get to be invited here to step into leadership mastery with me. Grateful for you. In my last words of 2024 in the Intelligent Human Leadership podcast here, I want to impress upon you is may the force be with you. Thank you all for listening and being a part of the journey. Until next year on the Intelligent Leadership Podcast, I'm David Carr signing off. And thank you so much again for being a part of the journey.